Welcome to J Lowe Artist YouTube channel. My name is Jeffrey Lowe, and we are here in my art room. Today I've been asked to do a little drawing out of color and really talk about warm and cool colors. So I've chosen some scrap that is kind of interesting. An osprey that's catching a fish. A lot of this background here that we'll kind of get rid of. I like the colors back in there, but we're really going to make the osprey pop. And just do some basic water type things with warm and cool colors. When you're doing warm and cool colors, you've got to remember that the cool colors are mostly in the shadows, the warm colors are mostly in the light, and that juxtaposition will really make your form come through. It makes your object pop, and especially complementary colors just really bring out the vibrancy in the colors. So that's really what we're going to be concentrating on. One of the first things we're going to do is we're going to use our drawing pencil, and I'm just going to sketch in some real basic shapes, comparing the object to the edges of my paper or my board, whatever it is you're drawing on. And I kind of will stop and say, okay, here's his head. I want his head right in there, and his body's about this big. His tail kind of comes out to about right in here somewhere. There's his tail. His feet are coming down in here. Here's that fish that's up in there. And I'm really not concentrating on a lot of detail here. I just want to make this stuff be where it's supposed to be. And so I'm just comparing everything as I go. Size, negative shapes, the space in between the wings, the space around the wings, just comparing all that stuff to where it needs to be, and I'm just kind of throwing it in, and not really concerned if it's exactly perfect. All the stuff can change a little bit, so as I go I can change it just a little bit, and that's okay. So just sketching around his wings, the feathers. Once I get my basic shapes and basic things in there, then I can kind of start drawing in. You want to choose your colors. I like to use Prismacolors. I've tried many different brands of colors, and I have found that Prismacolors are by far the most blendable, vibrant colors. They're about average for price when you're talking about the high-end colored pencils. I'm not getting endorsements or anything from Prismacolor. I'm just telling you like it is. This is what I found to be some of the very best. I kind of save my black for areas that I really need some contrast in, make it pop. And so as I'm looking over my colors, I may want to choose out some colors. This is just a 24 set. And then I've also added a cream to that. Cream is always a nice color to have in there. It's a light yellow. And so I always kind of start out with the indigo blue because it's very dark. I'm going to do some of my preliminary drawing with the indigo blue. Then I'm going to erase the graphite that I had on there, and then we'll start adding more color to it as we go. So I'm taking my indigo blue now, and I kind of act like this is ink. So I just look through and say, okay, where is my darkest areas? And that's the area that I'm going to just do a little bit of drawing with. So I can come in here and just do a little bit of drawing as if it were ink. You just kind of little edges here and there. You don't need a lot. And remember that we've got to get rid of all that graphite as we come through. All this graphite's got to go. And drawing is kind of like a camera. As you zoom into it, it kind of focuses. And so you just kind of start out very basic, You're not really trying to get detail in. That will all come. Right now, I'm just trying to get into basics. And I'm not really speed drawing here, but this technique really can get your drawings to look better, faster. And when you start illustrating, if you're ever going to do it for people, time is money. You want to do it as quickly and efficiently as possible. So just looking at all the subtle nuances of where things go. And any of this can change. We can look at it afterwards and say, I don't really like this composition, or I don't like where this is, or sometimes you get tangents. I think as an artist, you have to be aware of all of those things, of everything that's happening around it. It's a little eye. There's some darkness around the eye. Little shine on that beak. I'm just going to leave that little shine out. And because that shadow is fairly dark, I'm just going to kind of block in some of the really dark areas, but I'm going to leave a lot of that for later. We'll do some cooler colors in there later. Sometimes you have to kind of pick the colors that you don't necessarily see, and you have to say, well, I don't see that color in there, but I know it should be. Or you make an artistic decision and say, I'm just going to put that color in there anyway because I feel it right. A lot of drawing is feeling, knowing what's supposed to be in there because of experience, and then feeling it, just saying, this feels right, it feels like it should be there. And the other thing is a lot of people get so concerned that it's a droplet of water, or it's a feather, or it's something, and they want it to look like that right away. It isn't what it is. It's lights and darks. Everything is made up of lights and darks, and we got to stop thinking of it as a thing. Just shapes of light and dark. I think overall, any kind of art is going to be that way, just shapes of light and dark. And so you just kind of look at the lights and darks, you try to get them in as close to where they're supposed to go as you can. And adjustment here and there. Nothing is perfect. You just adjust it until you're happy with it. Besides that, who are you doing the artwork for? If you're always doing artwork to please other people, which is a side bonus of doing art, but ultimately you're doing art for yourself. You want to please yourself. You're making your own life better through the art and having fun doing it, and that's what's important. It's not other people, although they are important. It's like I say, it's a side bonus. for the most part. It's your enjoyment. It's your life. You're making it better through doing art. Had somebody tell me a little while ago that they have done enough art to be able to appreciate people who have the skill. And that's what gives them joy in looking at the art, is being able to appreciate it. Because it is not easy. It takes a lot of practice. And sometimes an artist can make things look pretty darn easy. I've been told that. Oh, you make everything look easy. That looks easy. Yeah. Pottery. Try pottery. You know, when the potter touches that piece of clay and it all of a sudden just forms to his hand, and you think, oh yeah, that's easy. I can do that. It's a lot of fun, but yeah, it's not as easy as it looks. One thing you want to do, though, is you want to get rid of all that graphite as soon as you can. That graphite is going to turn your colors muddy, especially your warm colors. Cool colors, not so much. And that's why I started out with the indigo blue here, is because it's not going to affect it as much as if it were a warm color. So those warm colors get affected a lot more by the graphite. So you want to get rid of that graphite. I get out to the tips of the wings and it's like, they're feathers. That's not a big of a deal. You put in what you put in and do your best. There are certain things that you really relax on. When I do people, I really am concerned about eyes, nose, mouths, lips. Did you get to the hair, even the ears? And it's like, it's not a big deal. You just do what you do and all good. There's some of this other kind of brown, really warm brown tones that you can put in if you want, but it's not that big of a deal. I'm just going to add some of these spots to help me with my proportioning and get everything where it needs to go. Now the same thing with the water. Now I want to get rid of all that graphite, so I'm going to take my kneaded eraser. I'm just going to pull out all the graphite. I'm going over the top of my Prismacolor because the Prismacolor kind of stay there. And so I'm just going to get rid of the graphite from the top. The Prismacolor stays there, and you get kind of this ghost image coming out from behind there. There's really not a lot. I didn't put a lot of graphite on there. I also used a darker pencil so you could see my drawing better. My wife always tells me, I can't see your drawing. Well, my students will tell me that too. Mr. Rowe, I can't see your drawing. So I use a darker pencil, a 6B pencil, so you can actually see the drawing more. And so it's a little harder, more difficult to erase. But there you're left with that little ghost image, and hopefully it looks pretty similar to your scrap, to your references that you've got there. The last thing is I'm going to need some ground. I'm going to need this to say, okay, this is actually a little fish here, and I want it to come through a little bit. So I'm just going to very lightly, and I'm looking at the darkest areas, and so I'm just going to throw in some little dark areas here and there. Water's kind of fun, especially splashing water, because it kind of sits out, and you can just have little spots here and there just kind of floating out in the middle of nowhere, because they're a moment captured in time. And so again, it's just lights and darks. Everybody's so concerned about things like air and water and things that change so often. You're capturing them at that moment in time, and you can just leave it hanging out there. Here's that water. It's very sketchy too. Eventually it'll come back into it, but I want to leave little spots here and there because you have lights and darks all living together on the same surface. And we're going to throw in a bunch of colors in here, and of course water is cool colors. Some blues and purples and maybe a little bit of greens. So again, I don't really care if it's exactly like my scrap. I just am using the scrap as inspiration. You also notice that my strokes with my pencil are not going in the same direction. Some of them go this way, some of them go that way. I have a tendency to kind of fan a little bit. I'll start out one way and go, this way, and fan it as I draw. A little more action there. And you can also even put in some waves in there if you want to, just back and forth a little, just to show that water in front of the bird is much more calm than the water behind. And then there's the shadow of the bird on the water, and it might be a little darker right there in areas. So there's our water, and then you really don't need much more than that. We can add some more as we go, but that's basically it. Now what we can do is we can start adding some other colors into that. Later on, we're going to come in with some dark. Black is never a really great color by itself. You want to add other colors to it, just to make it a little more pleasing. Black by itself is like a hole. It just doesn't allow any light to kind of come out of it. And so you want to be kind of careful when using just black by itself, especially in a colored pencil or in paint. So what other types of colors would you use in there? I don't know. At this point, I might say I want to use a little bit of purple and a little lavender maybe. There's some light lavender in some of these shadowy areas. And so I can throw a little bit of that lavender in there. And this is called Parma Violet. It's kind of a lavender kind of a color. I like that in there. A little bit here and there. You don't need a lot. There are times when I'll start with a color thinking, oh, that's the right color. And then I'll kind of change my mind and go, not the color I thought it was. A little lavender, a little violet. I love purple. Overall, purple is a great color, especially if you're doing grays. Your eye looks at something and it will translate the color into a value, and it'll say, okay, that's not purple, it's gray. And so as you draw along, you think, okay, I'm going to use a gray pencil. And that's not the best decision there. You want to say, oh, wait a minute, I'm going to go ahead and use that purple. You're drawing with color. We're not creating a photograph here. The camera already did that. We're creating artwork. And art is meant to be able to convey what the viewer sees, or what the artist sees to the viewer. And at first, that purple, you think, oh, that purple was the wrong decision. But I've done this enough. It's the right one. We're going to go over that. Purple and yellow are complementary colors. And so as you go over that purple, you might add a little bit of orange or a little bit of some yellowy toned colors. And that will counteract the purple. It'll turn it. It'll take away the brightness of it, the chroma. And then you'll get this variated purple where it's kind of toned down and kind of bright in the areas that you didn't put that yellow in. So I'm just going over my shadows now and just refining, always refining. Picking and choosing where it goes. There's some areas you think, oh, it needs to go there, and others. But also one of the keys, I think, is layering in the color, making it so it's multi-layered, has dimension to it. You can also pick and choose how much of that color by how hard you pressure. Put the pressure on your pencil. As interactive as technology is, I sometimes lose track of my students and things that they would like to learn. If there is something that you would love to learn, please write me a little note, comment, say, hey, teach us about this or that. I'm almost to that point where I'm okay with everything that's going on, and there's certain areas that I just want to pop. The eye, especially in a bird, look how golden and yellow that eye is. These birds of prey have very intense eyes. That all-seeing eye kind of a thing, and it just something that, as an artist, you want to bring that out and really make that dominant in the character of your bird, especially if you're doing birds of prey like this. Being aware of your surface and the texture of your surface is always very important, whether it's fabric or feathers or glass or hair, or leather, or whatever it is. Being aware of those textures and how to use your pencil to convey that feeling, that texture to your viewer. That's very important. And sometimes it's just very sketchy, like I'm doing here with these wings. You know, it's just kind of scribbly. But it comes off. It looks okay. The other thing that I always tell my students is you don't need a line around everything. You know, you don't have to have an edge. It doesn't have to be hard. Allow that edge to get lost every now and then. That's interesting. You know, that's really pretty. It's like these little feathers that are back in here, so soft, and they're so light. Let them get lost. You know, they'll come through. They'll come back sometime. A little bit of warmth now. Instead of using brown, I want to use some other colors that I really think are going to be nice. I've got a poppy red. This poppy red is kind of an orangey red. I use it a lot in flesh tones. You get 3 major colors in your flesh tones: yellow, ochre, poppy red, and cream. And so I'm going to use some of this poppy red. Now, against the purple, against the blue, that red is going to take on a whole new feeling, a whole new brightness to it. And so here's that poppy red. And if I go over, you're going to see that kind of orangey red kind of come through. But mixed with the purple or the blue, it really gets a whole different feeling to it. In fact, you look at it and you think, that doesn't look red, you know, that looks kind of brown. Well, that's the colors mixing together. You know, brown is created by complementary colors. So anytime you have a complementary color, whether it's green and red, or orange and blue, or yellow and purple, you know, there's all complementary colors in there. And anytime you mix a complementary color, they cancel each other out and kind of go brown. That's what's going on here, but it's not brown. You know, brown by itself can be kind of not a real pretty color. And we're here to do color. We're here to make this really pop. And some of that orangey color in the light areas is going to be really nice. And especially here around your eye, right there around the eye. You want that to really kind of pop a little bit. There's a little shine in the eye. Make sure that little shine, that little white spot, stays white. The rest of it, I don't want to do it all over either. Okay, I want to just do it here and there. Anywhere there's a light brown, I'm just going to take that and move that out just a little bit. And after a while, you stop thinking of it as red, and it's now brown. Your eye starts to kind of get used to things like that. Because it accepts it as color rather than, or as value rather than color. And it gets kind of, I think your eye kind of stops and goes, hey, that's really cool. I think our senses need to be surprised every now and then. You know, I think they like that surprise, that color or that taste. that flavor. All of a sudden you're like, new and different. This is one of the reasons that art makes life better. It just makes things more beautiful. You know, there's already a lot of negativity in the world. Art should never be negative. It should always be positive. There is negative art, and I think that sometimes we are duped into thinking that it's good. I think we need to concentrate more on the good. That is one reason I'm sharing all this with you on YouTube, because I want this world to be a better place. Somebody said, well, you know, what can you do to make the world a better place? Well, I don't know, but I'm going to try. And I love art, and I'm good at it, and if that's what it takes to make the world a better place, I'm going to do it as best I can. There's always those gainsayers, those naysayers that think there's something wrong with everything. Some people are just not happy unless they're critical. My opinion, they just need to do more art. Need to find that joy in life and find out that there is more to life than being critical. This coming from an artist, of course. Even the fish has a little bit of red in him, a little warmth to him. I'm just looking at any place that's warm and add some of that red to it. We're just about ready to make this thing pop. I'm just about ready for that black. You know, the black is, for me, it's a little difficult because I know that once I lay that black in, there's no going back. It's going to be dark. And I'm okay with that. I just want to make sure that the composition is okay with it. But it's going to work out just fine. From time to time, I like to ask my students deep questions. You know, what are you doing to make life better? Not only for you, but for those people around you. Because the essence of life is not to get through it. The essence of life is to find joy and make it better. And if you're having a hard time, make somebody else's life a little nicer. And you will find the essence of joy. You know, serving others Probably one of the greatest joys of life that there is. I don't think people understand that. Okay, now we're ready to make this thing pop. So I'm going to take the black. There's very little black that I use, but I'm going to use a little bit of black in some of those areas that are really dark. I'm going to start with that eye. And even though I'm going to leave a little bit of the blue behind, I am just going to do just a little spot of black in that eye and around the eye. And look what that does. It just makes it pop. Just brings it out. There's a lot of feeling and emotion that comes with that contrast. I always start out with the eye while my pencil is nice and sharp, because as I draw it kind of gets dull. And sometimes I like it dull because it covers a little bit faster. But look at how much contrast that eye just had. All of a sudden your eye just focuses right there. Boom, it pops. And that's one thing contrast does, is it increases your emphasis area. Detail increases your emphasis area. So sometimes if you're having a hard time with your emphasis area, your viewer's eye kind of wanders all over the place. Create a little bit of contrast and detail, and their eye will go right to it. Especially in the face, you really want to make sure that your proportions, your lights and darks, and where they need to be. See how they just made that pop. Like I say, sometimes I'll start out with the dark. And other times I like to wait. Make sure that I'm in the right place and doing the right thing before I get all that contrast in there. You just kind of pick and choose where you think it needs to go. And the farther away from the eyes, the more loose I get, I guess. I don't worry so much about placement. Remember, as you layer in color, though, it's mixing all those things underneath it. Prismacolor makes a mixer, but it's just a colorless mixer, and sometimes that's kind of fun to use. It smooths out things, mixes colors. But sometimes it's nice to just leave it kind of raw and edgy. And as an artist, you've got to make that choice. If I'm going to leave it kind of raw and edgy, or if I'm gonna, what I'm gonna do with it. I'm not going to go into the water, even though there's some really dark areas in the water. Water is so translucent. There's so much light that bounces around in the water that I think I'm just going to leave it. I'll use indigo blue, or I'll use another color into it to maybe keep it dark, but still. I think the black, I'm just going to stay away from the black. By the way, the scrap, the references that I choose them off the internet, so that as you go along, if you think, oh, I would really like to have a larger piece of scrap, add just common pictures off the internet. It's just practice. There are times when I'll take my own scrap. I like photography. I like doing my own scrap. But as far as you and your references go, I do this so that you can get your references. If you want to follow along with me, you can just Google this osprey, and I'm sure this picture will come up. And I'm very grateful to people who put pictures out on the internet that are fun and good practice for me to draw. This is all just practice for me. I don't think there's anything here that I'll do that I sell. It's just good practice. And I feel like that's what you need to do too. You need to be in here doing practice. My students are always amazed that I'll recycle my pictures. I will recycle tons and tons of pictures. And they're like, well, what are you doing? It's like, basketball players don't sell tickets to their practices. You're the same way. You should be practicing, You want to get good at anything. It's all about the amount of practice you put into it. I'm going to kind of finish up some of my cool colors with this sky blue, this true blue. It's a very nice, kind of a pretty blue. And you just do some of these underneath shadows, especially around the head. A lot of a lot of this blue in the water too, so we can take that blue into the water. One thing too about your art, you can spend as much time as you want on it. The more time you spend, the nicer it looks to a point. But a good artist knows when to stop. So there are times when you just gotta go, okay, I'm done. Sometimes there's just detail after detail that you want to throw into it. And again, you might just stop and say, well, are those details necessary? Is it going to bring me happiness and joy to give all those details? The answer there might be, no. You just don't. Where do you draw the line? I mean, that's kind of a pun, but where do you draw the line? Where do you stop? There's some of that water coming through there. Just nice and light. Look at that blue, how that blue just really makes it pop and brings it out. Little scribbles here and there, and you just kind of try to pick up some of that inspiration from your water as it splashes all out. Kind of explodes. Now you need some kind of secret weapons. I've got this golden rod. Sometimes I prefer yellow ochre. This golden rod is really kind of pretty. I'm just going to throw that golden rod in over some of that red, over some of that blue, and even over some of that purple that we first added. And look how that just warms that right up. A little bit of yellow. And if it hits some of that blue and causes it to turn slightly green, that's just an added bonus. You just think, oh, okay, I just got a color I didn't draw in there. Nothing wrong with that. I'll put that in the eye. There's a little bit of very intense yellow right there. I'm just going to hit this Spanish orange right in there. Leave that little bit of light out. That eye just comes through and looks so nice. Camera's not picking up the colors that are in here. There's a lot of color that this camera just does not want to pick up. Now, I haven't used brown at all, but you're getting brown, the black. A lot of black is kind of an indigo blue. In fact, companies that make black start out usually with indigo blue. And so it's picking up this goldenrod and just mixing it, making it look brown. I haven't used brown. No brown in here. I'm just going to use this goldenrod through all that warm tones of his or her. Feathers. And you can leave stuff out too if you think, oh, that's kind of light. I don't want to put that in there. Like I say, you add whatever you want to, as much as you want to. You can come back into this and add a lot more detail if you want to. I also find that the more color I add to it, the harder I have to press. And as I do, it mixes it. And makes it a little smoother, a little nicer. But then again, that's kind of up to you. Sometimes I like things a little less smooth. Here's some of that yellow right over the top of that purple, and look how brown and nice that goes. It's not brown. It's kind of this reddish, warmish kind of tone that's just so nice. That yellow and that purple are just lovely together. Just really nice. Over the blue, you get a little bit of green in there. I might even want to go back over some of this orangey with some indigo blue to really give it some contrast. I need some more contrast up in there, especially in those wing areas. So all the way up through there, you can really put a lot more into it. Again, sometimes you may want it a little raw, a little juicy. Again, that's up to you as the artist. Mahogany is a good color too to use. Some of that's kind of a reddish, toned down color, kind of a reddish brown. Great color. And we started out with indigo blue. I might end here with some indigo blue. Maybe a little bit of this lemon yellow too. This lemony yellow might be nice to just bring out some of that warmth in there. This is indigo blue. Just using that to pick up some of these darker areas here over some of the black. Indigo blue over the black is very nice. If I had a larger set of prismas, I'd probably use dark purple. I really like the dark purple. This is indigo blue over the top of the black. It's really enhancing the black over the top of the orange. It kind of browns out the orange, but still it's the contrast we want to get here. We're really trying to get that contrast. Trying to get the shape of those feathers in there too, just little dark areas. It's always important to try and keep your artwork clean. Sometimes that's the hardest thing to do. Kind of hard to determine what's going on with all those claws, but you don't have to determine that. You just draw lights and darks, and sometimes I'll sit there and draw lights and darks and think, oh, that's what that is. When at the time I didn't really realize what it was that I was drawing. Not a problem. Just darks and lights. Well, you can keep going on with this as much as you want to. You're armed with everything you need to make a wonderful drawing. Just needs practice. Just need to go in and practice. But thanks for coming along with me and drawing with me. Thanks for helping me to make this world a better place. I appreciate that. And you know, you truly can make this world a better place by doing art. Thanks again for joining me. Have a wonderful day.